Welcome to abombtozzzax. With me, Colin Holt. And my friends, Dan Snellgrove and Jamie Firth. Here they come! Hello, everyone. Welcome back to abombtozzzax, my favorite Marvel character, where we go through every single Marvel character from A all the way to Z. We're still very much stuck in the A's, and we're having a wonderful time. We really are. If you love our work, I'm going to say it up top. Please go to patreon.com/abombtozzzax. I thought we had two Patreons. I messaged the boys. I said, we've got two Patreons. We're getting that Magneto helmet. It's happening. It's finally happening. They vanished. I can't find them. They didn't join and then cancelled. What's going on? I can only suspect it's dark magic. However, what I will say, if you become our Patreons, there's lots of perks, more of which are going to become. First perk is you get extra bits of episodes, or extra episodes in a way. The latest is we talk about God Loves, Man Kills, wonderful graphic novels featuring the master of magnetism himself, Magneto. So hello, welcome to the latest episode. I am Colin Holt, and like Master Pandemonium, a.k.a. I think his real name was like Miles Pandon or something. I love it when their names relate to their superhero names, but it's such an unnecessary stretch. You know what I mean? Like Dr. Octopus, Dr. Octavius. Okay, fine. But like Master Pandemonium, so we'll call him Mark Pender. Something. Anyway, but like Master Pandemonium, I have a hole in my soul which needs to be filled with me making my mates come on a podcast and talk about Marvel Comics with me. It's my happy place, even if we never get a single Patreon. This is the happiest I've been in my life, apart from when my children were born, and possibly more than that. But that's me, Colin Holt. But joining me are my dear friends. He could well be over 500 years old, and his hair is thick and grey, silvery. Sorry.
Who's it going to be? Who could it be?
It's Jamie Firth.
All right. I thought it was going to be Dan. No.
Lovely Jamie Firth. And like the Thing, hairless, sometimes a little grumpy, but the finest godfather you could ever hope for. And I know that personally. He is my own son's godfather. He is Daniel J. Snellgrove. Hello, Dan.
Hi.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about every week we go on to the next character in the list on the Marvel Unlimited app, and we discuss that character. Now, these boys don't really know any of these characters. They sort of know some of the movies, blah, 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 but they certainly don't know the more specific ones. I'm an awful geek, and I know pretty much all of them. I haven't read all the comics, so some of this is fun for me. So, as in, I haven't read them in the past. However, I tried to pick one from the start of this character's life, one from around the middle, and one from recently. And this week, it's Agatha Harkness. I'll give you a little bit of information from marvel.fandom.com just to, without spoiling anything. Dan was very clear, we don't want to spoil anything, and I think he's right. But just to state who she is, apparently she has an alias, Professor Emetrius Harkness. I don't know where that relates to anything anyway. She is female. She is 5'11", weighs 130 pounds. Her irises are blue. They could just be making this up. And the hair, little bit of a tiny spoiler here. Her hair is black with a white streak, formerly grey-haired. And then another twist, originally blonde. I didn't know. So that's just complete mess, isn't it? I'll talk about that at the end, because that annoyed me, that fact. Anyway, She was created by the wonderful Stan Lee and Jack Kirby in Fantastic Four number 94, October 1969. There we go. Agatha Harkness. Wow. Did anyone know her at all?
Yes.
No. Oh, you did?
Oh.
I didn't.
Oh,
No.
I did.
Yes.
Well, because I was a very big fan of Wandavision,
Okay.
which was the Disney Plus Scarlet Witch Vision spin-off in the middle of, I think, a big raft of Marvel movies. So maybe one that maybe people missed, or just
that was
didn't have
first
Disney
TV series, wasn't it? That was the first TV series. So I think a lot of people watched that. And then since then, it undeniably, objectively has dipped in quality quite badly. But that one was quite good. And yes, she does appear in that. But that in itself is a bit of a spoiler. Sorry if you haven't seen it. Sorry, Dan. So you had an idea of who Agatha Harkness was. So you were probably a little bit shocked when you saw Fantastic Four 94. I haven't read this yet. I've been reading the Fantastic Four with my kids, and we've been having a wonderful time. They're so much fun. I love doing the voices. Agadoo. Benjamin J. Grimm, the thing, wonderful. And Mr. Fantastic, I'll do my voice. Come on, Sue. Okay, that's all right. That wasn't great, but but you get the idea. And then all the women kind of have that, oh my gosh, this kind of voice. Anyway, we haven't got to this point, and I read it. It was an absolute breeze. I loved every second of it, and it was very fast, went down very easily. What did you think of the comic and Agatha Harkness, the lady herself? What have you got, boys?
Who do you want, Colin? Who do you want?
I want whoever's ready. Dan, you look more ready than Jamie.
I'm ready.
Okay. What did you think, Dan? Let's hear your thoughts.
All right. So it starts off, there's a baby. A baby's been born.
A baby has been born.
And I need to check with you, Colin, actually. Is it the baby of two of the Fantastic Four?
Yeah.
So
Reed
it's Reed,
and
is it? Reed and Sue, right.
Reed and Sue.
So
Reed is called Mr. Fantastic, which...
I didn't know this happened. I didn't know there was you
didn't know they had a son, Franklin?
No.
Okay, great. Have we read any Fantastic Four as part of this club yet? I'm going to call it a club. It's a club. I don't think we have we? I don't think we directly read.
I don't think so, no.
Oh, by the way, little taster, I think our next jump ahead, because we do a jump ahead every 6 weeks, is going to be the Fantastic Four. And we've got a very special guest who wants to talk a lot about the Fantastic Four.
Is it Michael Chiklis?
Say who. You what?
Is it Michael Chiklis?
It's Michael Chiklis.
Okay.
It's Michael. We're hoping we get one page. No, it's not Michael Chiklis, I'm afraid. He played the Thing in the dreadful movies. But, I mean, Daniel, I'm going to let you speak in a sec. But one thing I want to say, I mean, we love the Fantastic Four, right?
Yeah.
Right from this comic, you're like, these guys are the best.
Well, they seem really friendly. They're all chatting about this new baby that's come in. The Thing's a bit sad because he's like, oh, you've named it, but it's... Sorry, I'm not doing the voice. I mean, what's the voice again? It's...
Well, he kind of... The ever-loving blue-eyed thing. Like that.
So you've named the baby,
but it's kind of... I don't know whether his insides, I think this has been discussed, I'm sure it has, but whether his insides are rocks as well, I don't know. But his voice would be a bit rockily.
It's gravelly, maybe.
Gravelly, not rockily.
Rockily.
Okay, so anyway, sorry, Dan. I'm just going to let
So he's all like, so you named the baby, which is fine. I don't care. Everything's fine. And they say, yeah, it's Franklin B. I don't know, Fantastic, is it? I don't know. Richards, thank you. Yeah. And he's all sad until he finds out the B is for Benjamin, and then he's happy again. And it's really, that's lovely. Oh, that's really nice. And then they're like, look, we can't look after the baby because we're superhero crime fighters. We're going to have to take the baby somewhere safe. Mm-hmm. So they go to this, frankly, this Dracula castle on the top of Whisper Hill. And they just give it to this scary granny lady. Like, what? What are you doing?
They go to the most terrifying house imaginable. And what I love is Reed says something along the lines of, she's an award-winning in her field. Award-winning in the field of a governess. I didn't know they had award. Well, I don't know.
Scary old cat ladies, unite.
Yeah.
I am your leader.
They have their own Oscars.
It does. It says a lonely house on a lonely hill. And it does set it up to be sad. And I think, is it the Thing that says it looks like Dracula's house? Or...
Yeah. But I think it is It is really funny, isn't it? And I think it's knowingly funny. I think they know clearly, because Ben, I love them so much, I call them by their names. But the thing, Ben, is clearly kind of our POV character, I guess, isn't he? He's just going, hang on a minute, what are you doing? She's clearly a witch. Although,
yeah, he wisecracks a lot throughout this comic. He's very much on form. He's brought material.
Yeah, he's the best. He's the greatest. So they give her to Agatha Harkness, who is the old governess with a big cat called Ebony.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what they don't know is that the baddies are watching. Somehow, we don't really find out, but they can watch. And they know that this baby is being taken to this secret hideout, so it's not secret anymore. And they find it and they hide in the wall or something. And then the characters, the Thing, and all the others get put into their bedrooms.
They stay overnight. I thought that was brilliant, because she says, "Oh, it's too late and stormy."
That was bad.
To head home, tonight? I've just I came in a jet.
They came in the Fantasticar. It's called the Fantasticar, and it splits into, and it can go. I think it can go into space, probably. So I'm sure they could have made it home.
Doesn't have headlights though, presumably, or windscreen washers. Is there a reason that they can't? It's a bit rainy.
Well, it doesn't have a roof. To be fair, it doesn't have a roof. They're just sat in it's basically like two dodgems stuck together. Because Reed Richards, which you may not know, is not only able to stretch, his stretching power is almost like very secondary. His main power is that he's just a super duper genius, a super duper genius. But he, I like the idea that it would be great. It would be great, kind of like Alan Moore type, deconstructed story if it turns out he's not a genius at all and he's literally just got like two dodgems stuck together and he's trying to convince them he can fly and stuff. But anyway, that I thought that was a bit of bad plotting, really, on their part. But anyway,
I guess
they're forced to stay in the haunted house. It's a trope.
It's the horror story trope, isn't it? Where it's like, we've got to stay there because it's raining outside, because it's late, blah, blah, blah. And we're all going, no, don't stay there, don't stay. And I don't mind that, because it's, you know what's going on. And we know that the comic's knowing, because things already pointed it out to us. So it's like, we know what's going on. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Take us away. Take it. And then, the baddies appear, and one by one, again, like your horror story, the goodies are picked off. And I think it's I quite like the way they're individually picked off by the Frightful Four.
The Frightful Four, yeah. Who are the wizard, Medusa, who at this point is no longer a baddie. So if you remember, she actually turns on them, doesn't she, the Frightful Four? She's got powerful hair. Someone says at one point, it's like, oh my God, her hair can do anything.
It's like Jamie.
Is there anything her hair can't do? Sandman and Trapster. I like the interaction between Wizard and Sandman. There's a bit where he's like smoking a fag and looks really tired. And he's like, even his mask doesn't quite seem to fit and just looks a bit like he's like, what are we doing? And he says something to Wizard like, it's a baby. What is wrong with you? And Wizard's like, no, I don't want to hurt a child. I just want to have my revenge, But how? By hurting a child, presumably. I don't know. I'm not sure. But
I've got some science here if you want it.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it. Is it about the wizard?
It's about the Wizard and Sandman.
Yes. Okay, let's have it. It's time for Science Corner.
Science Corner.
So in that conversation, so Sandman says, look, I'm not the nicest guy in the world, but we're going to hurt a baby. And the wizard says, I just want to get my revenge. Anyway, you owe me, because I basically turned you back into Sandman after Hulk beat you up so badly you turn into glass.
Yeah, well, he actually said, which I didn't look up what this meant, but he says your limbs turn to glass. And I like the idea that he's got these 4 glass limbs and his body is he's like, help me. Anyway, but yeah, so.
But I was like, okay, sand turning into glass. This is actual science here.
Yeah.
So I did a little bit of looking into that. It normally takes a lot of heat. So you need about 1,700 degrees centigrade to turn sand into glass.
Oh, this is lovely. This is like... Like Why Don't You or something, or one of those programs from our childhood. Yeah, go on then. Okay, need how 170 degrees?
No, 1,700 degrees centigrade.
Oh, wow.
170 degrees is for a pizza.
Oh, wow. And you don't want a glass pizza.
No. Yeah, a bit hotter than that. But it's not just, you can do it with temperature, with heat, or you can do it with an impact, like a punch. All right? So around the crash sites of meteors on Earth, you often find sand that has become glass. So it's a bit of a hint at the power of Hulk's punches. They are at least the power of a meteor crashing into Earth.
Oh, that's cool. So if he hits sand hard enough, it just turns into glass.
Yeah.
We're going to have to find that comic. We're going to have to, let's do that as a bonus. Okay, we'll do that as a bonus. For those Patreon listeners who come and go.
If he did it to coal and like compacted coal, does it become a diamond? I think I've seen that. I've seen that. Because Hulk could be
I saw that in a Superman comic. He could
be a very rich man. Oh, yes, he does. In I think in one of the Superman movies, doesn't he make Lois Lane's wedding ring out of a piece of coal that he compacts into a diamond?
You know, if what Hulk could do if he was real, he could make a fortune just off those YouTube videos. You know, he's just getting things and then putting his finger on them and then squashing them. Do you know what I mean? Just a series of harder on. Going, he would make a bloody fortune. I mean, he'd make a fortune anyway. Let's be honest.
Hey guys,
that is where a lot of these
like
comics,
and subscribe.
That's where a lot of these comics fall down. In that, all of them would just be absolute billionaires. Do you know,
they'll all be like
Kardashians. Yeah. So anyway, well, that's great. Thank you for that, Dan.
There you go.
May I ask quickly, while we're in Science Corner still, the Wizards anti-gravity discs. Is anti-gravity a thing which it pops up a lot in science fiction stuff? Is it? Are we close to it yet? Feels like it's been around for bloody ever.
I mean, you are testing me here. I mean, that is cutting edge stuff. When I was at university, we had a subject called modern physics, and it was physics from the 1920s.
Oh wow!
So I'm I'm not exactly cutting edge, I'm afraid. But yeah, we're finding new exchange particles, which are the particles related to the fundamental forces. Gravity is one of the fundamental forces. So maybe we'll find it.
Oh, so the particles are somehow saying, mate, stop pushing me down and I'll give you this.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. We're going to have to come out of Science Corner because we could be here forever.
Science Corner.
Sorry, Jamie. Yeah.
I was actually going to say, let's stay in Science Corner, but continue
Guys, we're back
story.
we're back in Science Corner.
We're
back in that corner.
Science Corner.
So as they're sort of picking off the Fantastic Four here, I did like that they sort of start to Home Alone them at one point. So at one point,
Brilliant.
Reed reaches through underneath the door to get out.
Yeah.
But the trapster, given his name, you'd expect this, is using a paste gun and has pasted the outside of the doors. So Reed, the smartest man in the world, sticks his hand out and gets it stuck to the door. And then it's completely incapacitated.
You've just got these long, weird, sausagey fingers stuck to a door. And he's like,
I've fallen for it
again.
again.
He's foiled me. Yeah.
I did have to look that up, though, because I didn't know if the trapster was like a nickname. And I found out that his real name is Paste Pot Pete. In other comics, he's known as Paste Pot Pete.
That's his original name.
Yeah, but I just didn't want. I wanted to go to Dan. It's not really a Science Corner thing, but the paste gun is something that I just really I'm hoping exists. It's not really a science.
I just love the idea that he creates a really good glue gun, and he's like, "This is it. I'm turning to crime. What else would I do with this? I'm robbing a bank. I've got a really good glue gun.
They'll be stuck there until someone comes along with like some solvent." You know, I've got at least that long to go.
How does he get out in the end? Reed turns up and all his fingers, all the skin's just been torn off his hands.
No fingerprints now.
Don't worry, I made it, Sue. Lovely. But then what happens, which is very cool in the comic, so the heroes don't really join in. They all just get stuck, don't they? Like, Reed is stuck literally with his fingers. Can't remember what happens to Johnny. Ben is held up with an anti-grav disc. But then Ebony comes in and Agatha Harkness, finally we're getting to her. And we see a series of increasingly terrifying, genuinely quite frightening sequences, I think, where each of the baddies are sort of, well, it's like their minds are snapped, isn't it? They just, there's Ebony sort of comes after one of them and then gets bigger and bigger. And then he sort of takes, he is the whole sky. And Wizard's going, get him away from me, you know. Great stuff.
I really liked that. I thought, okay, it's great. Hold her back. She's mysterious. Ooh. And then, boom, the reveal of her powers. And yeah, I thought her powers perhaps are to create illusions, to cause fear. Great. I'm all for that. The magic thing, I mean, that's a big question. Magic in the superhero world. How it interacts and all that kind of stuff. I suppose we can perhaps talk about that as we continue through these comics. But that in a power in itself, I was like, great. You know, and I suppose there could be certain heroes who are more resistant to that. Maybe like Xavier with his super mind might be able to like see through illusions maybe. You know, I like that there's some people will be susceptible, some won't. I liked this power.
But I think there's like... I don't think it's just no. I don't think it's just illusions, though. I think she's also creating. There's a bit where she just puts her arms in the air, isn't there? And they're like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you putting your arms in the air? What are you doing? Why her arms are in the air?" They all freak out. But she's so scary. She's genuinely quite frightening, I think. And she doesn't have like teeth or, you know, it's all just like completely composed. And she doesn't really have eyes. Well, she does, but like her eyes are so closed, which I think is just a kind of way of drawing an old woman, isn't it? You don't really see, do you know what I mean? She's all wrinkled and crone-like, but sort of, you know, respectable, wrinkled and crone. She's not like a Halloween witch or anything. But anyway, and suddenly Sandman's whole body turns into bricks, I think, doesn't it, or something? And then what happens? How does she possibly beat Paste-Pot Pete? How is that even... How can you beat a man with a glue gun?
Even some sort of solvent. Like she's got some ethers and...
I can't remember what she does, but she bloody hands it to him, I tell you that. And what I loved about the whole comic and her, and as I say, me and my kids have been reading through it. I think we're on like 66 or something. And it has... So Stan and Jack, creators of the Marvel Universe, essentially, and... Fantastic Four was the first one, so everything's kind of come off this. But they did the first 101 together, the first 101 issues, and then other people took over. But it has stalled a bit where we're at, 66. So I think this, which is 94, was a bit, I think they're attempting to inject something new, you know, something a bit more fun. And I think what they've definitely done is gone to those old, this might not mean anything to you, but in the 50s, there were these old horror comics, mainly made by a company called EC. Do you remember Creepshow, the Stephen King film? So that's based on these. And basically all through the 1950s, the superheroes kind of disappeared because superheroes were created for World War II. And when that finished, you didn't really need them so much. Sorry, quick bit of boring history here. So then horror comics sort of took over in the 50s and they got so horrible. And some of them really are like, you know, people's skin falling off and all sort of like really extreme, that it led to this whole like kind of banning of comics. And like a sort of really, was a man called Frederick Wortham wrote a book called Seduction of the Innocent, where he showed how comics are like satanic and trying to, you know, turn kids into juvenile delinquents. And there was literal burnings, big like bonfires of comic books and stuff. So it got really bad, you know, it got quite kind of like McCarthyism or something. So then they had to do the comics code, which is where they all agreed we won't show anything horror or anything like that. But this is a real nod to those comics. So the style, and you know, it's got that kind of Twilight Zone feel of like the baddies get their comeuppance, they break into a house that's haunted, and one by one get picked off. It could almost be a creep show, couldn't it? Fantastic Four are kind of incidental to it. Anyway, bit of history there for you. But they're definitely clearly harking back to those days, and it's wonderful. I love it.
I mean, you're talking about burnings and stuff. You know, it's like a witch hunt. It was a witch.
Well, maybe this is some comment on all that. I don't know, because
at the end of this comic, we get into Salem. We get into
So that's a weird thing where he goes, "Hey, what are you reading?" The Thing does, and Agatha's got a book called Salem, or the new history of Salem.
Something about Salem, which is the witch trials.
Yeah, and he's like, well, I'm getting out of here, and then runs out. But like, that interests me because obviously, especially being theatrical actor types, we know The Crucible is a very famous play, which sort of quite clearly it doesn't prove it because obviously it was 100 years ago, but shows that the whole Salem witch trials were nonsense and hysteria and all that. And, you know, there weren't really witches. So it's interesting that this was in 1969 and people were still just associating Salem with witchcraft. And but I thought The Crucible was written in the 50s, but anyway, yeah, interesting that people still thought that. And that continues. So Salem within Marvel Comics continues to be a place of witches, even though we all kind of know it. Like, I thought it was just objectively known throughout the world that was all not only bullshit, but quite offensive to say, yeah, it's a bit creepy. Don't go to Salem, you know.
I think The Crucible is mid-50s. I don't know when the actual witch stuff was, but I think that was like 400 years ago. I think it was very early America.
Yeah,
they just got there, and it's like, oh bloody hell, there's witches everywhere. Look at all this.
Yeah, weren't witch finders awful people when you think about it? We've just set up this village. We've done everything we can. There's some absolute comes along. An absolute paste pot Pete comes along.
Yeah.
And says, do you know what? I reckon some of you are witches and we should burn you. Oh, no. Thanks a lot, mate. Anyway, awful. So I feel, yeah. And Agatha is a witch, despite that whole Salem thing. She's a witch, but there's no suggestion that makes her a baddie or anything, I don't think.
Well, not yet. We've got to wait for comic number 3 where it all gets
okay. But at this point, and for a long time afterwards, we completely trust her with Franklin. She's got an award, for God's sake, you know, she's going to be fine. There's no, but, and I didn't think it till now, but I wonder whether, probably more Jack than Stan, knowing the two. I feel like I know them personally, but I think, yeah, maybe they were doing some veiled comment on that whole anti-horror comics thing, because that would have been where they started. You know, they would have been doing those comics, definitely Jack, before Marvel took off. So probably it is a bit of a like fingers up to the to old Frederick Wortham and his ilk, which is what we need now. We need more protesting against book burnings and stuff. Great. So that was the first appearance of Agatha Harkness. We were all agreed it's fantastic. Then we jump forward to 1985 for a probably not the best titled comic of all time, West Coast Avengers / Avengers West Coast. It is the same comic, but they can't decide which one it should be. It changes repeatedly, I think. Number 52, which I like to bring in some of these comics, which are some of the first ones I've ever read. And this is, hands down, the most disturbing comic ever printed. And I've read Watchmen, Sandman. I've read From Hell, which is a detailed comic book about Jack the Ripper. Very detailed. And this is worse. Okay, Jamie, do you want to lead us very quickly through the story of what happens?
I feel bad earlier because I did mention WandaVision, and this comic is very much clearly the inspiration behind that series, although heavily rebooted and sort of modernized into a very
For some reason they didn't use Master Pandemonium.
No, he was sat at home, flicked it.
One of the great villains.
Like, where's? I assume I'll be in season 2. Where's old Master P?
Marcus.
So it's a big opening. So Master Pandemonium has kidnapped Vision and Wanda's children to use their young souls to replace the missing pieces of his own soul. So it's pretty heavy stuff right from the off.
He has a 6 or 5. 5 is bad. Yes. Is 5 bad? Sorry, I feel like we're on very shaky ground here. He has a soul. He has a star in where his heart should be, and each bit of his soul, every time he gets a bit of his soul back, a bit of the star is replaced. Is the idea?
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely not in Science Corner for that. I'm not sure what his powers are, but he's got some sort of, he's a demon of sorts, or he looks like a sort of warlock, I suppose, doesn't he? Truly evil facial hair.
Very much so.
Wasn't sure what the beard looks like, a crescent moon upside down. Doesn't
It
really
is upside
make any
down.
sense.
The beard, I reckon they drew it upside down for the first panel and then went, well, we'll have to stick with that now. I'm not cutting that out and turning it around.
How does he groom that? It must be magic. That's his real power, just making that facial hair stay in place. It's incredible. But yeah, the thing that's most disturbing, it's all disturbing, it's all horrible. But the thing that's most disturbing is not only has he kidnapped them to make him part of his soul, but for some reason, which never really explained, he's turned two baby twins, Tommy and William, into his hands. So he has his arms end in babies, and the babies are screaming. And they have arms as well still. They don't have anything from sort of the chest down, but they're just the top of a baby, like puppets, like two baby puppets.
Like Punch and Judy.
Like Punch and Judy, but two baby boys. It's horrendous. And then at one point, demons come out of them somehow and attack the West Coast Avengers. At this point, Scarlet Witch is trying to we don't know, I don't know how it's got to this point, but she's just trying to get the babies back, obviously. They're all useless. All the Avengers are just stood there. But to be fair, you'd be like, what is happening? I don't like this. Make it stop. But they're not, no one's really like trying to get those. But I suppose, how do you even get the babies off him? Because they're his hands now. You would just give up and go home, wouldn't you, to be fair? I don't know. Anyway,
is there a genesis of the East Coast Avengers, of the West Coast Avengers? Like, is there an East Coast Avengers? Is this like the West
the East Coast Avengers
Company?
East Coast Avengers is the Avengers.
Right.
I guess it's the idea that all the comics happen in New York, pretty much. And then they were like, hey, what about California?
Let's syndicate it out west.
Yeah. So I think it's Hawkeye went and set up the West Coast Avengers.
Yeah.
I think he got kicked.
New York was too chilly for him. He didn't like the winters, so he thought, I'll go. I need to take it to a better climate.
We've met Hawkeye, haven't he? And he's generally a bit of a dweeb. And I think he just kind of went, no one takes me seriously. I think it actually was a bit like this.
Yeah.
And so he goes up and forms his own gang.
But it's like they're all sort of copies of, they're sort of knockoffs of the East Coast Avengers. So I think is this US agent, which is a horrible, horrible pun, is kind of Captain America's non-union equivalent.
You'd take the day off work, though, if you came up with US agent, wouldn't you? Or would that be the first? No, that wouldn't be a take the day off work. That would be like the first thing you wrote down. Then you went, we'll come back to that if we can think of nothing else. US agent.
And we never did.
I'm US agent. No, it's like every time he says it, he has to explain it. They're like USA, like an agent of wonderful. But they all get attacked by the demons, and each one there's these 2 pages that I remember really disturbed me as a kid. Like each attack, even on the Avengers, feels really uncomfortable and gross. Like they're all smothered, or like the Vision. There's like this weird demon with like a snout, and he like just turns his head backwards. Just goes. And so his head, it's absolute horror.
There's a lot of they've got sort of meds like the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, when they open the Ark and everyone's face melts. There's a lot of face melting going on.
Yeah, of the goodies or the demons, you mean?
The demons, they're horrible. They're really horrible.
Do look. They
eat the West Coast Avengers.
I mean, it's very effective artwork. In that set, they're all kind of grubby and schlubby. Do you know what I mean? Then none of them are like, they don't look like kind of horns and a tail kind of thing. They're all sort of like, it's sends a chill down my spine. It's also ridiculous and really stupid. The whole thing's really stupid. But then the worst moment for me is when Billy or Tommy, one of the babies who are now hands, opens his mouth incredibly wide, like a boa constrictor, and tries to eat Wonder Man's head.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. And the thing is, when I read this as when I was 10 or whatever, I was like, horrified, but also like, yeah, sure, that makes sense. And as a 45-year-old man rereading it, John Byrne, who wrote and penciled this, I'm like, what? He's not right. What's going? He thought of this idea. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, when you watch one of those really awful horror movies, and as I like to state, my children listen to this, so we won't go too far. But you know, when you watch a really like upsetting horror movie, you just go, didn't have to make that. Like, you could have the idea, but you don't have to then make it. But John Byrne went there. But Dan,
I think
you think go for it.
I do. I think if you're gonna introduce hell and demons, then don't just make them monsters. We've got monsters. Don't just make them really strong. But bring in the horror aspect. Yeah, do it. And I suppose you've got to think, okay, who are these comics for? You've got to be a bit careful. Blah 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 blah. Maybe put warnings and stuff. But I tell you what, I'm doing a D&D campaign where my characters are going to go to hell. I hope they're not listening.
Yeah,
I'm definitely going to use the baby hands. My God, that's so disturbing. Yeah, that'll get them.
Baby hands. Oh my goodness. And then Agatha finally comes into it. Finally, Agatha is a kind of Deus Ex Machina, if that's the phrase. She comes and I'd like to hear how the baby hands get on, by the way. Sorry, Dan, in D&D. I didn't quite know how exciting that is as concept. Will they be on a wizard?
They're going to meet demons and devils. So there'll be some demon, and I'm going to chuck those babies on his hands.
What if a spell makes one of the characters have baby hands?
Oh.
To then trying to eat your head.
Oh, I love it. Yes. That.
Oh, my goodness.
You get dark ideas too, Colin.
Who'd have thought that is the worst, most horrible villain we've met, and even more than the Nazi Baron Strucker, arguably, maybe not. But I think, who'd have thought it would be Master Pandemonium? Just a schlub. And then it turns out that he was a movie producer. So Agatha Christie turns up. She's instantly killed. But Agatha Harkness is with, now this probably threw you. We probably don't have time to go into this, but the original Human Torch. So that's not Johnny Storm, even though he looks exactly the same, apart from his hair is combed back. Let's just say not only is the Human Torch pivotal, the original Human Torch, he is actually arguably the first ever Marvel hero. First ever, 1939. Before Marvel Comics started properly, there was a company called Timely Comics. Okay, I'm doing it. There was a company called Timely Comics, I think. That was what the original Marvel Comics was. And their big hit was Marvel Comics #1. The original Marvel comic was called Marvel Comics. And on the cover it looks hideous. It's a man burning because they hadn't really worked out. It's just like, and it's the Human Torch and Namor, the Submariner, who you may have heard of. They were the first ever characters. Anyway, but for whatever reason, which I can't remember, he's come back to life, even though he's a robot. He's been reactivated. And he goes to Agatha Harkness and basically she just gives him a load of exposition and explains that Master Pandemonium was a movie producer, nearly died. Mephisto came to him. He said, give me, what is it? I'll bring you to life. Oh, I don't bloody know. I'll give you your arms, but they're babies. There's always a twist. There's always a twist. The Faustian Pact. I'll give you all your wildest dreams, all the fame and riches you can imagine. But you want my soul? No, I want you to have hands that are babies. That's the one. Oh God, that would be a real dilemma. I want all that stuff, but do I want hands that are babies? God, this is weird saying it.
Just wear gloves. It'll be fine.
Massive gloves. And under the gloves, you can just see these little hands.
Right.
Oh, God. Anyway, then she doesn't really... She's now become a sort of godlike figure, Agatha Harkness, in this.
I like the fact she appears to have knowledge of how these demons and how pacts work and souls and planes of existence. And it's like the guide from afar, and because they've gone to that different plane, I think, where Mr. Pandemonium lives.
Yeah.
And again,
Gandalf-y almost.
Yeah, I quite like this, that she's got knowledge now. She's got certain, fear and illusionary type stuff or whatever that was. And now, okay, she's got ancient knowledge. Cool. Mm-hmm. I like this. Yeah.
Yeah. She's still basically the same, looks basically the same as she first did. Then the Human Torch takes back 2 parts of the souls of Master Pandemonium. And, but it turns out he's been tricked even more than the baby hands thing. And because once you've filled in all the stars, what's in the middle of the star? Nothing. So it sucks him in and he vanishes. As a kid, I thought that was genius, absolute genius scripting. As an adult, doesn't really mean anything. It's just a hole, a hole that he then sucks inside his own hole. Didn't we have that happen to someone before?
The Abyss. Didn't the Abyss?
Mr. Fripp. Yeah.
Mr. Fripp.
He sucked into his own self. So, yeah. Okay, so there you go. At the end of Master Pandemonium. But then Mephisto, Lord of all evil. Did you know this character existed?
Well, he appeared. He's the one who was chatting to Thanos.
That's right. He was in Infinity
Chat. Yeah.
Having a chat.
So he is essentially the devil.
Right.
There's quite a few devils, but he is essentially the devil.
Mephistopheles, is it?
Mephisto. Yep. So he turns up, and then the cat, Ebony, Agatha's cat, fights him, and it's so horrific, we're not even allowed to see it. We just see the faces.
Love this. Yeah.
We just see one panel of 5 men.
Just looking shocked.
And they're all white. It really, really, like, I don't mean to sound all kind of, I don't mean to sound all bloody woke. I am woke, but you really realize how white men these comics are in these days, aren't they? When I saw that panel, it's just a panel of 5 white men looking disgusted. It could be almost like, that famous meme from Question Time where it was like the gammon parade or whatever, and it was all of the faces of all the gammons. It could be that, but 5 Avengers, one of them Iron Man's helmet on, but all just watching this battle.
I mean, do at home, go find this comic and find this panel. But I mean, to give you a sense, like, it's just these guys looking shocked and sort of almost hiding their faces and saying things like, good Lord, the cat thing is attacking Mephisto. Oh, I can't look. His claws are slashing Mephisto to ribbons. It's like the sort of radio commentary version of a battle scene.
Yeah. I mean, it was so extreme. Could he not be bothered to draw it? Maybe. But then, Jamie, have you got the most extreme thing that they say?
The wounds heal instantly.
Yeah.
Mephisto's got hold of Ebony now. He's pushed his hand down the cat's throat.
Yeah.
Oh. Great Scott. He's turning the cat thing inside out.
Oh, my goodness. As if babies for hands is not enough.
Pretty sure there's a good reason that they...
Inside out.
Pretty good reason they didn't turn the camera around at that point.
Yeah. John Byrne would have to draw that.
I'm not drawing that. No, you draw that.
Why do I have these thoughts? I just get these thoughts, darling. I don't know why. I just wake up in the night and I'm just babies for hands and cats inside out. Like the John Byrne is this like drunk northerner. I mean, like, I've got to get it out. And she's like, it's a comic for kids. I don't care. Once I've thought it, I've got to do it. I'm an artist. Don't try and stop me. I just think babies for hands. It's good. It's good. Anyway, wow. One of the most disturbing comics you could ever read, I think. And doesn't make any sense. And also Agatha then at the end. What did you think about Agatha here? This is maybe a morally grey area. What does she do to the Scarlet Witch, whose children throughout this, I should add, and I don't know how well this is handled by the writer, but her children throughout this are fighting as the hands of a man. Which, I mean, you would never recover from that, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, you said as a child you thought this was genius. I got very confused as an older gentleman. I got very confused about it's like they defeat Mr. Pandemonium with using like metaverse timeline. They just confuse him to death.
They say the babies are older than when you made the deal with the devil, so they can't be part of your soul.
Yeah. In which case, and that's when he gets sucked into himself. So by taking the two parts, is this a science corner moment? Is this,
Well, I mean, it's barely science.
We need a witch in the club to give
Witch corner.
Well, basically,
Witch corner.
No, there is a long history in Wicca of babies for hands. It does go back to 17th. Yeah. Sorry.
But if I remember correctly, it's that Mephisto, he was destroyed and his soul or whatever was separated, and he needed someone to go around collecting all the bits. And when they were joined together, he could have it back and go, it's mine actually.
So that's a point to make, is the babies are never even, they weren't real. So like we're casually talking about babies being, hands. Such a sentence. But the babies never existed because Vision is a machine. He's a robot, so can't have children. But Scarlet Witch has somehow used her hex power, which is very ill-defined, to summon, to make herself be pregnant. But the babies that she somehow summoned, she somehow used, without realizing it, the missing parts of Mephisto's soul.
Yeah, and all that happened before Mr. Pandemonium had his accident.
So Mr. Pandemonium, Master Pandemonium,
sorry, yeah.
To you.
Apologies.
So he's got nothing to do with that. He's unnecessary. What was he doing then? Why was any of that happening?
I think because Mephisto just couldn't be bothered to go around getting his own soul, so he got some mortal to do it for him.
Okay. He's
do it.
He's a real trickster, that Mephisto, isn't he?
So not to be confused with the Trapster.
No, he doesn't have any clue.
That would be a clash. That would be a battle I want to see. A 10-page, no words, just a battle between Mephisto, the Lord of Evil, and Paste Pot Pete. Shooting that glue gun at him.
Agatha does have a good moment where she's explaining that Scarlet Witch tried to make these children, but she could never do that because she cannot create life, because that power is reserved unto one force in this universe. Yeah. Which ties in, I think, was it the last week we were talking about God in the MCU?
Yeah.
There is a sort of unnamed top power.
It's called the One Above All.
And is that who is being referred to here, I assume?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if it had been defined by this point that there is a one above all. But then I think I told you. Did I tell you what the reveal is? I think I said, didn't I?
This sounds like the biggest reveal of all.
Who the one above all is. Did I say? Do you know what? Even worse.
Is it Theopompedus from Dragon's Den?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it would have been.
I mean, it was one of those twists you just don't see coming. No, I did. I'm sure I said it last week, but you've both forgotten it. And do you know what? I possibly weren't even listening. But because I know I say a lot of things on this podcast, but I'm not going to tell you, because actually that's going to be in the Fantastic Four mega episode that we're going to do. Very exciting.
Wow.
Very exciting. Okay. So, but then finally, so last thing we'll say, Agatha's morally grey thing that she does.
Mm-hmm.
Do you notice this?
Mm-hmm.
Wipes Wanda, the Scarlet Witch's mind, of any memory of her children that they ever existed. How do
which she argues is the right thing to do, because they never existed, so she'll never know that she didn't.
That's a big philosophical debate to get into, isn't it? And I must tell you, it's going to have huge ramifications in the Marvel Universe in about 20 years.
When we get there.
20 years would be 2005. Yeah, I think about them. We will enter that period. So, this stuff comes back. Master Pandemonium sadly doesn't, I don't think. He comes back. I think he comes back once, and they've just changed everything about him, but they've just made him a sort of generic demon.
I thought he'd have
babies for hands was what made him. I mean, it didn't make him cool. It didn't make him cool. Yeah, what, teenagers for feet?
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for in the sequel.
And just a complete old man for a torso, but like all of him, like his head is Master Pandemonium's neck. Oh my God, this is some good D&D stuff, right? We're running out of time, so let's quickly, because that's all it takes. I thought we wanted to see Agatha Christie again, Agatha Harkness, in the modern era. And as you say, Jamie, WandaVision has happened. She was played by Catherine Hahn.
Yes, I was going to spend the whole time talking about Catherine Hahn because I think she's just wonderful. So,
did you like her in that?
Yes, loved her.
Yeah,
I think she's wonderful in everything.
She's great, isn't she? I've seen her in that and Transparent.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good pun.
Transparent, yes.
Is it very close? It's a lot better than USA Agent.
It's exactly where my mind went. Same guy. Great. Same guy.
She's great. I don't know. I don't know how I felt about all that. I felt like when she appeared in WandaVision, it kind of lost it for me a bit, but I don't know. As in, it just went, nothing matters now. Do you know what I mean? A little bit. But anyway, but in this is, what is it even from? This is a very recent Agatha Christie centric
Colin. Agatha Christie.
Agatha Harkness. Generally, I prefer Agatha Christie. Agatha Harkness centric story called Contest of Chaos, I think it is. Me and Dan are both eating bananas at the minute.
What is it with you people bringing a food to do a podcast?
No wonder we've got just talking this long makes me need energy to keep going. Right.
So it's the Avengers
Annual 2023. So last year, #1. So I told you they're always bloody rebooting. It's an absolute nightmare. Bloody nightmare. But so Agatha's suddenly young. Young, hot. She's got black hair with a white streak, which discovering in her previous life she had blonde hair doesn't even make any sense. And so that made me annoyed because I'm like, well, they're just making her like the movies and absolutely crowbarring that in. And I don't know what's happened, but I think she's essentially what? Does anyone know, Jamie? Did you get what's going on here? To be fair, I gave you the last issue of the entire storyline.
I mean, it seemed
really
to me
nothing.
It was really a nothing burger. This comic for me. It's like a bunch of them getting lost in the Bermuda Triangle, which feels like it should be like the first comic ever made.
And there's nothing there. The Bermuda Triangle's just...
There's some boats.
There's some boats. There's a pirate ship.
Yeah.
But there's no reveal, is there? There's no reveal that, the Bermuda Triangle is actually a doorway to hell or something like that. It's like...
Not really. And it's Agatha that's sort of controlling it.
Could be anywhere.
Well, they do refer to sites of chaos magic. So I assumed it was, that there were various sites of chaos magic around the world, and that's one of them.
And what's she trying to do? She's trying to bring the chaos. What's she trying to do? I don't know. It's so rubbish.
Darkhold. There's Darkhold mentioned.
Okay, there's a book called The Darkhold. And she's trying to destroy it?
No, she wants to make it again. She's so the Darkhold. Sorry, sorry, Jamie. You were going to say this. Yeah. The Darkhold is a tome of unimaginable power. Of course, it is created as a conduit for the evil influence of the elder god Chthon. But now she's got Chthon's heart, and with the blood of this elder god, she's rewriting the Darkhold once more. Sounds pretty bad to me, but...
But why is she doing that? She wants to take over the world, or...?
She thinks it's a good thing to do. We don't find out why, really.
But no, it's a bit like that, the middle comic where it's like, if there was another way, I would do it, but this is the only way. You just got to trust me that I know what I'm doing. You need to help me do it, even if it does seem a little bit bad. Just trust me. It'll be fine.
Yeah,
I think in a nutshell, and then she's gone about that by somehow controlling random superheroes, but she controls them by putting them in sort of purple crystal clothes, and they don't seem to be they just get beaten quite easily.
Yeah,
there's a bit where there's Cyclops, and he's just looks exactly like Cyclops, but he's wearing purple, and his visor is like a little bit warped. And I think it's Captain Marvelous. Someone goes, Cyclops, is that you? You're like, well,
yeah.
At one point, one of the characters.
Hang on, you're wearing purple.
One of the characters does actually say, "Why am I wearing purple? I never wear purple."
Wolverine.
I think that's Wolverine at the end.
It is Wolverine.
Yeah. That was the one bit that I sort of liked.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of beat it. I don't even remember how they beat her anyway. But so in between the whole West Coast Avengers thing, Agatha, just to fill you in, has sort of become, apparently there's a whole era, which I thought about giving you, but I didn't. I wanted to do something more recent. There's a whole bit where she's dead and a ghost and is sort of like, do you remember Hopkirk and Deceased?
Randall and
Hopkirk Deceased. So she's like that to the Scarlet Witch. The Scarlet Witch for a while becomes a kind of detective, Hellblazer type character, and she's there as a ghost, sort of like, are you sure you want to do that, Wanda? Which is sort of the setup of my script I'm trying to peddle to the BBC, so I probably shouldn't be too harsh to it. It's a brilliant idea. And it should be made, but with me. Great. Well, there we go. Agatha Harkness. Did you have a line for us, hair director?
I didn't. I was going to just indulge in a lot more Catherine Hahn stuff, but then I realised maybe it is a bit spoilery. I did check because I thought it was happening that I think later this year there is actually Agatha's own series.
I think it was called Coven of Chaos. I
wrote it down because it's gone through 3 pseudonyms, all of which were brilliant, which is House of Harkness, Coven of Chaos, Darkhold Diaries. They do like alliteration.
At the risk, I'm not going to say his name because I don't know, he might sue me, but a friend of mine who's a comedian had an idea ages ago of doing that with Agatha Harkness of years and years ago, like before the Marvel things even came out, and Marvel turned him down. And it was a great idea. He showed me it of like her sort of, it was sort of her past and her sort of adventures with ghosts and demons and all stuff like that would have been good. But I fear that series might be really bad from what I've heard, because I don't know, I don't want to preempt it, but I think the original idea was like one of those EC horror comics, come into my coven of chaos kind of thing. And let me tell you a dark tale of the Marvel Universe, which would have been great, wouldn't it? Where she's a kind of crypt keeper type host. Oh, Tales from the Dark Side. That's what EC comics are, basically. If you remember that, that's essentially what EC comics were. They always had a host, But I think actually it's just going to be a kind of, there's going to be superheroes in it and stuff. And it's
could be anything really.
Could be literally anything. Who knows?
Aubrey Plaza's in it, who I would have said that meant that it would be some sort of funny, kind of quirky thing. But then I saw Aubrey Plaza doing something really serious and quite gritty the other night, and she was wonderful in that as well. So it could go either way.
Aubrey Plaza would have been a good Scarlet Witch, wouldn't she?
Never too late.
It is. Well,
it is, yes. No, it is.
Has either of you seen Doctor Strange and the Multitude of Madness? Multiverse of Madness?
Yes.
Good stuff. I like that one, Jamie.
Yeah.
So you know what can happen. Okay, I'm not going to say anything, Snelgers, because I don't want to spoil it for you. Right, we've talked enough about Agatha Harkness. I think we all love her. Should we give her some ratings? Originality. Hard to original within the Marvel Universe. I sound like such a geek then. Original within the Marvel Universe, but also obviously a harkening back to something.
Creepy cat lady, matriarch. Yeah, she's quite a straight character to begin with.
Okay, so four.
Yeah.
It's got to be a part. Longevity. How long is this? I think you could do a lot with her, and they have. I think they should go back from what they've done, though, and make her old creepy cat lady again.
Yeah, we could pitch that.
Now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So longevity, I'm gonna put that like 6, because I think that's potentially yes, potentially no. Coolness. Very high for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
Although we're looking at a creepy cat lady, I mean, you'd think the opposite of cool, but what she does to the Trapster and the Wizard, it's proper. It's if Clint Eastwood was an old witch, which maybe he is. Okay, I'm going to give her. I'm giving her 9 for that. I'm just doing this, by the way. It's up to you guys to shout out if you disagree. And what is left? I got realism. Very real. I think I say that every time. What?
100%.
100%.
100%.
Well, I mean, it's got to be 3 because she is a cat lady, but she, as a woman, you can imagine her existing.
How realistic do you have to be to say to a bunch of superheroes, "You'll have to stay the night, guys, because it's wet out"? I think that's realism.
I mean, one of them's literally made of rocks. He's going to be fine. Unless he turns into sludge. And then finally, I'm going to give her a 4 for that then. Okay, what was the last one? Oh my God, we do this every time.
Is that adorability or something? Was it?
No, we scrapped that one.
Oh, we scrapped
just
that?
For A-bomb. That was just for A-bomb. Originality, coolness, realism, longevity. I was going to say productivity, but that can't be one, can it?
We do have likability.
Likability. Pretty high for me.
Yeah.
Again, not the last one.
Not the last one. That's got to drag it down a little bit.
Yeah, she's dragged down to 7 or 8, I reckon.
Yeah.
Okay.
7.
Okay, so she's not quite there, I'm afraid, with old Adam Warlock. I'm not going to count it now, but she is below Adam. So I'm afraid she's not going to make it into the next round.
If later in the year Disney want to give us a bunch of money to revisit her, to coincide with the TV series, I say we do it. I say we take $1 million.
Definitely. We'll take $1 million off literally anyone. Off Mephisto.
Yeah.
Even if you turn my hands into babies, I'll do it for £1 million. Brilliant. Well, next week we are meeting Abigail Brand. Just a lady's name. Just a lady's name. So much more. Not a million miles away from Agatha in her own right, but no magic involved. A lot of bloody science. We'll find out. Yes. All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. Say goodbye, Daniel. Say goodbye, Jamie.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks. Don't forget the Patreon. Patreon.com/abombtozzzax. Thank you. Bye. Love you.